The Mystery Behind the Muse, Unveiling the True Model for the Statue of Liberty, read and published by Mr. Books. In the heart of New York Harbor, standing tall above the waves and gazing out toward a horizon etched with hopes, the Statue of Liberty has long been an iconic beacon of freedom, democracy, and the American dream. Her serene visage, commanding presence, and the symbolism shrouded in every fold of her robe have captivated the imagination of millions. Yet beneath this monumental exterior lingers a riddle that has endured for generations. Who truly inspired the model for the face and vigor of the Statue of Liberty? From the moment of her unveiling in 1886, curiosity swirled around her origins. Scores of historians, artists, and enthusiasts have proposed theories ranging from the plausible to the fantastical about whose image was immortalized in copper and steel. Was she inspired by classical goddesses of ancient Rome or Greece? Did Auguste Bartholdi, the master sculptor behind Liberty, bestow upon her the features of a beloved family member, a muse, or perhaps a mysterious stranger? For more than a century, fragments of evidence have emerged. Old sketches, faded photographs, letters exchanged across oceans, and personal accounts, each contributing another piece to the complex puzzle. Some claim Bartholdi's own mother played the pivotal role, her dignified countenance forming the basis of Liberty's noble face. Others search for political, cultural, and personal motivations in the tumultuous era in which the statue took form. As time marches on, the fog of history thickens, and what was once an enigma rooted in personal artistry has blossomed into one of the 19th century's great mysteries. This book embarks on a journey into the heart of that secrecy, weaving together historical documents, artistic critique, and compelling narratives from various corners of the world. We will explore the deeper meanings embedded in Liberty, scrutinize the evidence with a critical eye, and immerse ourselves in the personal world of Bartholdi, a man driven by vision, ambition, and a profound understanding of symbolism. Through each chapter, we will traverse from Parisian studios to American shores, unearthing not just the facts, but the cultural resonance and evolving mythology surrounding the statue's muse. The quest to reveal the true face behind Lady Liberty is as much a story of art and history as it is a saga of identity, pride, and inspiration. Join us as we unravel the mystery behind the muse, where every clue brings us closer to the beating heart of liberty itself. Chapter 1: Origins and Inspirations. Liberty's first sketches. When tracing the lineage of the Statue of Liberty, one must journey back to the creative crucible of mid-19th century Europe. It was a time of revolution and renewal, with nations wrestling with the definition of freedom. Within the ambitious artistic circles of France, a young sculptor named Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi was engaged in a journey not only across continents, but also across ideologies and artistic inspirations. His mind brimming with the fervor of republican ideals and personal obsessions, Bartholdi sought to create a monument that would transcend national boundaries, echoing the universality of liberty itself. The origins of Liberty's first sketches are surrounded by a medley of influences, classical, modern, and personal. Bartholdi was deeply enamored with Greco-Roman art, often wandering through the statues and busts populating Parisian museums. In his notebooks, one finds persistent, almost obsessive studies of ancient goddesses. Isis, Roma, and Minerva bear silent witness to his relentless search for a visage that could communicate power balanced with benevolence. The concept of liberty, or la liberté, had for centuries been represented allegorically in Europe, most often depicted as female, a tradition Bartholdi was eager to both respect and reinvent. Bartholdi's creative process began with a series of rough sketches, the earliest surviving examples revealing crude outlines and tentative gestural details. These preliminary drawings explored the interplay of physicality and symbolism. Liberty, in these nascent forms, bore elements of classical beauty, symmetrical features, idealized drapery, and a regal bearing, but also hints at something distinctly personal. Bartholdi was searching for a face and form that would be timeless, yet relatable, grand yet intimate. Amid these artistic explorations, the winds of political change were gusting. France was recovering from the tumult of the Franco-Prussian War and the collapse of the Second Empire. The ideals of republicanism and new democracy resonated powerfully with Bartholdi's patrons, many of whom dreamed of an enduring symbol of the Franco-American friendship that had survived revolution and war. The earliest conceptualizations of liberty were not created in isolation. Bartholdi conversed continually with intellectuals, politicians, and fellow artists. Letters exchanged between Bartholdi and Édouard René de La Boulaye, the political thinker who championed the idea of a gift to the United States, offer glimpses into the dynamic dialogue underpinning the statue's design. La Boulaye urged Bartholdi to imbue liberty with a spirit that transcended mere artistic convention. She was to be more than just a statue. She would be a moral beacon, a symbol of hope and possibility. Amid all this ambitious vision, the choice of liberty's model became a subject of intense deliberation. Bartholdi sought a visage that could resonate universally, yet carry the subtle fingerprints of personal influence. He tested various sources, from plaster life casts to portraits of friends and family. Methods of artistic selection were both scientific and emotional. He scrutinized the way light fell upon a brow, the softness in a cheek, the resolve etched in a furrowed forehead. Throughout this formative stage, Bartholdi also grappled with practical constraints. The sheer scale of the statue demanded innovative engineering. The model for Liberty's face would need to translate beautifully from miniature sketches to the grandeur of an 11-meter-high visage. Bartholdi experimented with clay maquettes and wooden busts, noting how the features shifted when magnified or cast in copper. Technical considerations were intertwined with artistic vision, adding another layer of complexity to the selection process. The social atmosphere of Paris at the time contributed a background hum to Bartholdi's creative efforts. The salons, where his ideas were debated, the cafes, where radical thinkers mused about the future of democracy, all fed into his conception of liberty. The notion of a female embodiment of freedom, while familiar, was being reshaped. The face needed to signal both stability and dynamism, tradition and transformation. The first sketches of liberty are not mere artistic studies. They are chronicles of an era, symbolic battlegrounds where ideology and aesthetics collide. They invite us to peer beneath the layers of copper and steel, to see the phantoms of classical goddesses mingling with the shadowy figures of Bartholdi's own acquaintances. The journey from initial inspiration to final design was not linear, nor was it without conflict. Through each iteration, Bartholdi refined and reconsidered, searching not just for a universal symbol, but for a muse who could truly embody the spirit of liberty. In the pages that follow, we will draw ever closer to the heart of this mystery, examining not only the public discourse and political pressures behind liberty's creation, but also the deeply personal motives that animated Bartholdi's search for the perfect model. As we progress, the broader context of artistic tradition and innovation will intersect with intimate stories and private revelations, setting the stage for an extraordinary saga. A saga where the very identity of Liberty's muse stands as both a question and a testament to the enduring power of art. Chapter 2. Bartholdi's vision and the French connection. At the epicenter of the mystery lies Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, a figure both celebrated and curiously elusive. While the world hails him as the mastermind of the Statue of Liberty, few know the depths of his vision, the intricacies of his connections, and the French context that profoundly shaped his creative journey. To understand the essence of Liberty's muse, one must first traverse the winding paths of Bartholdi's life and the broader tapestry of French society that both inspired and constrained his genius. Born in 1834 in Colmar, a town nestled in the Alsace region of France, Bartholdi grew up amid a cultural crossroads where Germanic and French traditions collided and political tides shifted unpredictably. From a young age, he displayed a talent for the arts, but it was his mother, Charlotte Bartholdi, who nurtured and guided his ambitions, exposing him to intellectual circles and fueling his appetite for classical influences. The family's move to Paris was a catalyst, embedding Bartholdi in a metropolis alive with artistic and political ferment. Paris, in the mid-19th century, was a city in flux. The echoes of revolution lingered, and the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity were zealously debated in salons and assembly halls. The intellectual climate was one of bold experimentation and passionate ideation. Bartholdi, ever observant, absorbed these vibrations, channeling them into his burgeoning commitment to monumental art. He was not content with mere decorative works. He aspired to create symbols that would stand the test of time. It was within this dynamic environment that Bartholdi was introduced to Édouard René de La Boulaye, a prominent jurist and professor whose vision would become entangled with his own. La Boulay's idea of gifting a symbol of liberty to the United States struck a chord, aligning perfectly with Bartholdi's personal aspirations and patriotic pride. The synergy between artist and patron was electric. La Boulaye provided the ideological underpinning, while Bartholdi infused the concept with aesthetic innovation. This creative partnership was not without its complications. The process of conceiving liberty demanded more than technical prowess. It required navigating the shifting sands of politics and diplomacy. France's relationship with the United States was a delicate one, fraught with memories of shared revolutionary struggles, but also tinged by rivalry and suspicion. Bartholdi became, in essence, a cultural ambassador, tasked with embodying the hopes of a nation in sculpted form. The French connection went beyond mere political alliance. It encompassed an entire tradition of artistic interpretation, where monumental statues were repositories of national identity and collective memory. Bartholdi drew extensively from the works of predecessors such as Eugène Delacroix and Jean-François Millet, whose paintings and sculptures depicted allegorical figures, often female, as vessels of abstract ideals. Liberty for Bartholdi was to be both an inheritance and an innovation. She would bear the hallmarks of classical beauty, yet her face needed to signal a distinctively modern vision. As Bartholdi's sketches matured into more refined concepts, the question of the muse's identity loomed ever larger. Within the French artistic milieu, the choice of a model was fraught with symbolism. Would Liberty's visage reflect the spirit of Marianne, the national emblem of the French Republic? Or would she break away from convention, incorporating features inspired by personal acquaintances or family members? Bartholdi wrestled with these possibilities, consulting not only close friends, but also the broader community of critics and patrons who scrutinized every detail. There is evidence that Bartholdi considered more than superficial attributes when selecting Liberty's model. He sought a face that could communicate resolve and gentleness, dignity and empathy, a synthesis of qualities that would resonate across cultures and centuries. Accounts suggest that he paid particular attention to expressions captured in moments of everyday life, sketching women in Parisian parks, studying portraits of his mother, and contemplating the impact of facial structure when amplified to monumental proportions. The French connection also manifested in the technical challenges. of constructing liberty. Bartholdi collaborated with leading engineers, notably Gustave Eiffel, whose expertise in structural design enabled the realization of bold artistic visions. The challenge was daunting: to create a statue so immense, so detailed, and so enduring that she would become instantly recognizable, yet also invite interpretation and mystery. The interplay between artistic ambition and scientific ingenuity elevated liberty from mere sculpture to a triumph of collaborative genius. Throughout this stage, the enigma of liberty's muse was carefully guarded. Bartholdi understood that the magic of monumental art often dwelt in its ambiguities. While public speculation abounded, he offered few clues, preferring to let observers project their own meanings onto liberty's face. Some saw hints of his mother's features, others discerned elements of classical goddesses or anonymous Parisian beauties. The tension between private inspiration and public symbolism became a defining characteristic of liberty's identity. In unwrapping Bartholdi's vision and the French connection, we encounter not just a story of artistic creation, but a drama of intellectual ferment, diplomatic intrigue, and personal longing. Liberty's face, forever young, forever serene, mirrors not only the ideals of a bygone era, but also the multitudes of influences that shaped her. Bartholdi's pursuit of the perfect muse stands as a testament to the power of art to transcend borders, histories, and individual identity, offering a mirror in which each generation may glimpse its own dreams and dilemmas. As the journey continues, we delve deeper into the search for liberty's face, mapping the constellation of contenders and controversies that swirled through Bartholdi's world. The answers lie not just in the archives and ateliers, but in the delicate interplay of memory, myth, and enduring mystery. Chapter 3. The Search for the Face, Contenders and Controversies. The question at the heart of the Statue of Liberty's mystery is deceptively simple. Whose face gazes eternally across the waters of New York Harbor? Yet answering it draws us into a labyrinth of artistry, personal choice, social context, and myth-making. The search for liberty's face has ignited passionate debate, spawned rival theories, and prompted an ongoing investigation into the models who might have inspired Bartholdi. In the early stages of design, Bartholdi was acutely aware that the model chosen would forever influence how the statue was perceived. The face needed to carry not just aesthetic beauty, but emotional depth and symbolic power. Bartholdi experimented liberally, studying faces both public and private, in search of an expression that could marry strength and grace. Several prominent contenders have emerged in the annals of history. The first, and perhaps most frequently cited, is Bartholdi's own mother, Charlotte Bartholdi. From the very beginning, rumors circulated that Charlotte's dignified countenance formed the template for liberty's visage. Correspondence between Bartholdi and family members hints at a deep reverence for his mother. She was an influential figure in his life, and her features bore a gravity and kindness that Bartholdi admired profoundly. Photographs of Charlotte reveal high cheekbones, a pronounced brow, and a contemplative expression, all mirrored in some observers' eyes. In the face of liberty. Yet, other contenders vie for recognition. Some historians believe Bartholdi drew inspiration from Marianne, the enduring emblem of the French Republic, a figure often depicted as a robust and youthful woman, symbolizing liberty and reason. Marianne's representation was ubiquitous in 19th century France, appearing on currency, official documents, and public sculpture. Critics argue that liberty's face and pose subtly reference the iconic imagery of Marianne, blending French political symbolism with universal ideals. However, direct evidence linking Marianne to the muse remains tantalizingly elusive. Others speculate that Bartholdi sought inspiration beyond family and politics. He was known to study Parisian models, professional sitters who posed for artists, across the city's famed studios. These models, anonymous and often overlooked, contributed features and expressions that Bartholdi sketched and adapted into his evolving concepts. There is some documentation pointing to his visits to studios and his tendency to create composite sketches, blending attributes from multiple individuals to fashion a face that transcended any single identity. Controversy deepens further when considering the notion that Liberty's face may be a deliberate amalgam, a synthesis of familial resemblance, classical idealism, and social commentary. Bartholdi's artistic method was highly iterative, and he rarely committed to a single model without exploring alternatives. Reports from his assistants recount lengthy sessions spent altering the curvature of a lip, the arch of an eyebrow, or the set of the jaw. Each adjustment was made with the ambition to evoke both familiarity and mystery, drawing viewers into an act of interpretation. Additionally, some scholars point to Bartholdi's travels in Egypt as a formative influence on the design. In the late 1860s, Bartholdi visited the land of pharaohs, where he marveled at the colossal statues of antiquity. The faces of these monuments, stoic, symmetrical, timeless, inspired his conception of monumentality. Certain features of Liberty, such as the solemn gaze and dignified posture, bear subtle echoes of Egyptian statuary. Could it be that the muse is not a person, but an ancient artistic ideal, refined through the lens of modern symbolism? The search remains complicated by the lack of definitive documentation. While Bartholdi was prolific in correspondence, he left ambiguous remarks concerning his choice of model. In his public statements, he often deflected questions, preferring instead to emphasize Liberty's allegorical nature. The face, he insisted, was meant to evoke universal qualities, not specific individuals. This reticence may have been strategic, a way to maintain the statue's broad appeal and avoid entangling it in personal biography. Even as Bartholdi maintained this ambiguity, the world continued to search for clues. Art historians have conducted forensic analyses of Bartholdi's sketches, comparing them to photographs of family and friends. Some utilize digital modeling to test the congruence of Liberty's facial structure with known subjects. Others delve into cultural context, examining how the face reflects the ideals and anxieties of the era in which it was crafted. What emerges is a portrait not of certainty, but of tantalizing possibility. Controversy also extends to questions of ownership and interpretation. As the statue achieved iconic status, stories proliferated, each claiming to offer the true explanation for Liberty's identity. Newspapers published exposés, popular authors penned speculative accounts. The proliferation of theories became itself a cultural phenomenon, reinforcing the enduring mystery and ensuring that every generation would have its own contenders. In surveying this landscape, one realizes that the search for Liberty's face is more than historical investigation. It is a reflection of our shared longing for meaning and connection. The contenders and controversies represent our fascination with the origins of greatness, our desire to see the imprint of ordinary life upon extraordinary achievement. As the debate continues, we must remember that Liberty's true face may never be revealed in full. Like all great art, she invites engagement rather than conclusion. In her gaze, we find the convergence of myth and memory, ambition and ambiguity, a testament to the power of mystery itself. Chapter 4. The Search for the Face. Contenders and Controversies. The mythic allure of the Statue of Liberty lies not only in her sculpted grandeur, but also in the enigmatic face that crowns her immortal form. From the moment Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi presented his vision of liberty to the world. Speculation erupted. Whose features did he immortalize in copper and steel? The search for the true face of Lady Liberty has inspired decades of debate, fueled by cryptic clues, tantalizing resemblances, and ambiguous historical records. Bartholdi himself was known for his guarded responses regarding the statue's origins. His reticence, whether born of artistic privacy or deliberate mystique, only deepened the intrigue. Some contemporaries insisted that Liberty sprang forth as an allegorical figure, a composite epitomizing the ideals of reason, enlightenment, and republican virtue. Yet, as the statue's broad classical features and serene expression entered popular consciousness, whispers arose. Surely, such specificity spoke to a singular muse. Over the years, a bevy of contenders have been posited as Liberty's real-life model. The most persistent claim centers on Bartholdi's mother, Charlotte. Bartholdi, family lore and close acquaintances would later assert that the sculptor revered his mother, drawing not only moral but physical inspiration from her dignified bearing. Eyewitnesses noted Charlotte's strong jaw, noble nose, and deep-set eyes. Features purportedly echoed in Liberty's own visage. Beyond the maternal theory, another school of thought focuses on Bartholdi's social circle in Paris. Among the artistic elite, several women were renowned for their beauty, poise, and intellect. Some historians speculate that one of Bartholdi's acquaintances, perhaps an anonymous model or an acquaintance with striking classical features, could have provided the underlying form, later idealized through Bartholdi's chisel and clay. The controversy intensifies as photographic evidence and contemporary portraits are scrutinized. Comparing early sketches and maquettes to period photographs produces both uncanny similarities and perplexing discrepancies. The tension between artistic license and fidelity to a living model muddies the waters further. Bartholdi's devotion to the neoclassical tradition suggests that he may have appropriated attributes from Greek and Roman statuary, intentionally blending the classical with the contemporary. Despite fervent investigation, there exists no definitive documentation to settle the debate. The mystery persists because Lady Liberty, like her ideals, remains open to every generation's interpretation. Each theory, be it maternal, allegorical, or social, illuminates a different facet of Bartholdi's genius and the epoch in which he worked. The search for the face of liberty continues to captivate, inviting whispers, speculations, and spirited debate, not only about the statue's origins, but about the very nature of artistic creation itself. Chapter 5. Family Ties, Bartholdi's mother and the maternal model theory. If there is one name inextricably linked to the face of the Statue of Liberty, it is that of Charlotte Bartholdi. The argument that liberty bears not just the weight of freedom, but the likeness of the sculptor's revered mother has woven itself into the very fabric of the statue's mythos. This maternal model theory, at once intimate and epic, suggests that the world's symbol of liberty is also a profound homage, a son's tribute to his mother. Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi was born in Colmar, in the Alsace region of France, in 1834. His father died young, and it was Charlotte who shaped Frédéric's upbringing and worldview. Described as intelligent, cultured, and fiercely devoted, Charlotte Bartholdi possessed a resilience that left an indelible mark on her son. From his earliest childhood, Frédéric regarded his mother as both muse and mentor, a pillar of wisdom whose strength anchored the tumultuous Bartholdi household. As Bartholdi's ambitions grew, so did his personal and artistic debt to his mother. Letters reveal frequent references to Charlotte's counsel on matters both practical and philosophical. Bartholdi's notebooks, recovered from family archives, feature quick sketches and studies. A recurring motif was the proud, upright posture favored by Charlotte. Contemporaries remarked upon the majestic gravity of Madame Bartholdi's demeanor, a quality that seems uncannily mirrored in the Statue of Liberty's calm and purposeful stance. Photographic comparisons lend further credence to the maternal model theory. Surviving portraits of Charlotte Bartholdi reveal a woman whose bone structure, strong jaw, wide brow, penetrating gaze, closely resembles Liberty's monumental visage. Sketches of Liberty's head, including the famed clay maquettes prepared in Bartholdi's Montparnasse studio, exhibit lines almost identical to Charlotte's face. Yet while the resemblance is persuasive, it is crucial to recognize that Bartholdi never outright confirmed the role of his mother in public statements. The evidence is circumstantial but compelling, woven from testimonies of friends, reverent letters, and suggestive visual parallels. The artist's silence on the matter may be read as both a gesture of reverence and a strategic ambiguity, allowing Liberty's face, and by extension her meaning, to transcend personal origins and embody universal aspirations. The maternal model theory enriches our understanding of Liberty, adding an intimate layer to her symbolism. She stands not only as a beacon of hope for the world's downtrodden, but also as the manifestation of formative maternal influence. Through the silent power of myth and memory, the face of Charlotte Bartholdi endures, her features multiplied 1,000-fold across the ocean in the torchlit gaze of Lady Liberty. Chapter 6. Unveiling Clues, Letters, Portraits and Photographs. The search for Liberty's true muse has long relied on more than conjecture. It is an archaeological pursuit through tangible artifacts. The letters, portraits and photographs that trace the evolution of Bartholdi's inspiration. Every scrap of paper, brushstroke or photographic plate becomes a potential cipher in the decades-old code of Liberty's face. Bartholdi, meticulous by nature, left behind a trove of correspondence, much of it detailing his creative process. Many of these letters are addressed to family, close friends and artistic collaborators. While Bartholdi rarely committed his deepest inspirations to writing, certain lines stand out as possible allusions. One letter references the proud distinction of home, a phrase scholars take as a nod to his mother. Another muses about the responsibility to shape a face familiar yet transcendent. Such cryptic language has prompted historians to scavenge for links between Bartholdi's personal and artistic life. Visual evidence enhances the narrative. Portraits of Charlotte Bartholdi, with her stoic, serene expression, echo in Liberty's broad face and determined gaze. Side-by-side analyses performed by facial recognition experts have underlined points of convergence: the lines of the nose, the set of the mouth, the sweep of the eyes. Furthermore, early clay models, preserved at the Musée Bartholdi in Colmar, provide a physical progression of the statue's development, each stage bringing the face closer to its final monumental form. Photographs from the Montparnasse studio. Sessions show Bartholdi at work, with reference models at his side. Several anonymous women, their names lost to time, pose with draped cloth and borrowed crowns. Were these professional models, acquaintances, or simply stand-ins for more personal inflections? Bartholdi's practice, like that of many sculptors, often involved synthesizing features from multiple sources, blending realism with idealization. Technical studies have further complicated the search. X-rays of Liberty's head have revealed distinct underlayers, offering tantalizing hints that Bartholdi revised the face multiple times. The presence of different material strata aligns with the hypothesis that Bartholdi started from a concrete muse and then abstracted her features into an archetype. In the end, it is the interplay between documentary and visual evidence that best encapsulates the search for liberty's face. Letters and photographs offer glimpses into Bartholdi's process, but they stop short of providing incontrovertible proof. The clues left behind fuel both academic rigor and popular conjecture, ensuring the quest to unmask liberty's muse endures across generations. Chapter 7. Social, political, and cultural influences on the muse. To truly understand the choice of liberty's face, one must look beyond the personal into the sweeping currents of society, politics, and culture in which Bartholdi moved. The construction of the Statue of Liberty coincided with a heady era in Franco-American relations, marked by revolutions, upheaval, and the clamorous call for liberty and equality. Artistically, Bartholdi's Paris was enthralled by classicism and romanticism. The Paris salons and political clubs crackled with debates on citizenry and rights, while monumental public sculpture was both a civic ideal and a deeply personal pursuit. Bartholdi absorbed these influences, synthesizing ancient symbols of liberty, such as Roman libertas and Greek goddesses like Demeter and Athena, into a form resonant with contemporary aspirations. Politically, the era's turbulence shaped both the themes and embodiment of liberty. Having lived through the Franco-Prussian War and witnessed the fall of empires and tides of nationalism, Bartholdi yearned to fashion a symbol strong enough to withstand the storms of history. The face he sculpted, serene yet resolute, was a deliberate contrast to the belligerence so often immortalized in martial statues. Hers was not the beauty of conquest, but of reconciliation and hope. Culturally, the face of liberty needed to be relatable yet awe-inspiring, a silent diplomat bridging continents and ideologies. The features Bartholdi chose: strong, open, free. From ornamentation, spoke to the universality of his message. In personal notebooks, Bartholdi writes of his desire to represent the spirit of the age, unbowed by circumstance. Imagery from the French Revolution mingled with American Republican iconography, forging what would become liberty's iconic visage. The influence of contemporary figures, particularly in women's rights movements in both France and America, also cannot be overstated. Newspapers of the time speculated that liberty's face echoed the determination of prominent suffragists. Bartholdi undeniably drew upon the strength he observed in women's crusades for justice and equality. Amid all this, Bartholdi's art was not devoid of individual expression. The fusion of cultural narrative and personal homage yielded a face that was both specific and symbolic, a harmony of history, hope, and individuality. The Statue of Liberty's muse, seen through this lens, embodies not simply a person or a motif, but the shifting soul of an age hungry for enlightenment. Chapter 8. Modern Myths and Pop Culture Interpretations. As the Statue of Liberty has grown from a beacon in New York Harbor to a universal symbol, the mythology surrounding her muse has evolved in vibrant and unexpected ways. Modern culture, with its insatiable appetite for stories, has repurposed, embellished, and sometimes subverted the question of her true face. Spinning its own intricate tapestry around Bartholdi's enigmatic muse. In Hollywood films, Liberty's face has been cast and recast, not as the stern matron of classical inspiration, but as everything from an alien beacon to a dystopian relic. Pop artists, too, have played with her features, rendering her youthful, aged, or even androgynous in countless reinterpretations. This diversity in representation underscores an enduring truth. The Statue of Liberty has always been more than a static form. She is a living symbol, perpetually revised to reflect the anxieties, dreams, and ideals of every epoch. Literature and comics have woven new myths, populating liberty with imagined backstories, secret loves, political intrigue, even the fantastical notion that her face contains hidden messages for future generations. Fashion designers have drawn upon liberty's impassive gaze, translating it into bold statements on freedom and individuality. Musicians and poets invoke her as both muse and metaphor, her silence resounding louder than any shout. Online, the debate remains fresh. Forums buzz with theories, virtual facial reconstructions, and AI-driven analyses comparing liberty's features to historical figures. For every claim debunked, a dozen more arise, fueled by the participatory nature of digital culture. Each reinterpretation, whether sincere or satirical, becomes part of the living myth that animates liberty's gaze. Crucially, modern pop culture has given voice to those who felt excluded by historical narratives. Artists from diverse backgrounds cast liberty in their own image, reclaiming her as a symbol of manifold identities and freedoms. The myth of her muse thus expands to accommodate countless faces, a mosaic as varied, resilient, and evolving as the societies she inspires. In the end, the modern myths around liberty's face reaffirm her greatest power, to be not just a creation, but a canvas upon which each generation projects its hopes, its struggles, and its ceaseless search for meaning.